We got about 15 minutes left to get together before we go through a few minutes of questions. Can you go over maybe 2 objections? I don't want to overwhelm everyone and I don't want to go through too much. Can you maybe take 2 objections that you're getting right now or that you think buyers are getting and maybe give us some ways we can handle it?
Totally. I'm going to go over all of this in 15 minutes. I'm just kidding. I'm going to just...
Damn you, Reed.
My eyes just
this is a good one. Okay, so let me ask a couple questions first then. So on overcoming objections, I did one on a primary buyer, and then I did a couple on like sellers, like own a home and need to sell to buy. I'm going to go over a couple of the ones that I thought were like the most significant. I think
the wait until next year is a good one, and then I think the wait for interest rates to drop. I think those are huge.
Perfect. Okay, so let's dig into this real quick. So I'm going to do this part real quick because it's going to tie into that. Okay, so primary borrower. I'm just going to wait until next year, and they're currently renting. How much do you rent? Okay, and then you find that out. Or how much are you currently paying in rent, right? Then you'd come to me and you'd get mortgage payments, right? We want to know, like, what are their payments going to be for a house that they're going to buy? But effectively, just think of it this way. If they're paying $4,000 a month, that's the average you pay for a $700,000 to $900,000 property, let's say, okay? Let's say they're paying $4,000 a month. 36 months is $144,000. If they bought a property today for $900,000, it would have to drop $144,000 and they would still be right where they're at with rent. And I'll explain why here in a minute. If they're paying, let's say they're 1.2 to 1.5, they're $6,000 a month. By renting, they're spending $216,000 over a 3-year period, okay? The benefits of owning a home. Every time that you make a mortgage payment, you're paying off a portion of your principal. Every single time. The interest you're paying to a $750,000 loan amount. This used to be $1 million before we had tax reform, but now it's $750,000. If you have $1 million home and you have a $750,000 loan amount, all the interest you're paying every month is deductible against your income. So if this person makes $100,000 a year, right now the interest, you guys, to point this out, because the payments are so much higher, the average interest right now is about $48,000, okay, on a $750,000 loan right now. $48,000 that they can deduct off their income. If somebody, let's say, makes $125,000 a year minus $48,000, they are now only paying taxes on $77,000. Let's say that their effective tax rate, okay, at say 120, let's say it is 30. Let's just say 30% between federal and state, all in. That's what they're paying. They're going to pay $36,000 of taxes on 120 in income. They're going to save. They are now only going to be paying $20,000 in taxes. They're going to save over $15,000 of income tax just by having a mortgage of $750,000.
And that doesn't even include their property tax too.
Doesn't include their property tax. It doesn't, but I'm just pointing it out there. If you look at what a mortgage payment is today for principal and interest, okay, and let's even say tax and insurance they're going to have to pay, the difference of what you will pay to rent versus what you will pay to own, even with interest rates this high, after tax benefits, they are still saving money owning, okay? And let's look at what the benefits of ownership are. Yeah, mortgage principal pay down. Every month when they make a payment, they're paying off what they owe. They are making money owning versus renting right now. Guaranteed, even with rates this high. And I can show the math. So you got to remember that. It is 100% interest when you rent. When you rent, your interest rate's 100%. It's all interest, and you can't even tax deduct it. So the benefits of owning, mortgage principal pay down, tax deductions, no moving costs. No rent increases. Get a 30-year fixed loan. You're not going to have rent increases. Tax and insurance, very, very small amount that you would experience. And then just emotional stability. No one's ever going to come in and tell you, hey, you have to move out. I'm going to sell my house in 60 days, right? You don't have anybody perking around your house or telling you how you have to keep it. It's the emotional stability of owning. If you sell real estate and you own your own property, it makes it a lot easier when you're selling a client when they know that you already own property. Now, when you're up and coming and you're really like trying hard, people value hard work a lot. So you don't have to own a property to get a buyer or a seller to use you. Obviously, there's tons of opportunity if you don't. Just saying overall, if you do own property, it's a great selling point. And then the purpose of your first home, people are always trying to knock it out of the park. The purpose of your first home is not necessarily to buy your dream home, okay? It's not your forever home. It is a roof over your head in the interim, and if you can get tax benefits, emotional stability, you can show that it is still cheaper to own than to rent. There is no reason to rent versus buy if you can qualify. And another thing to point out is timing the market, and I have a whole section on it. I'm not going to go into it, but I'm just going to go into it briefly. There's no way to time the market. If you bought a house in 2020, a house in 2005, a house in 2010, a house in 2015, a house in 2020, and a house in 2025, let's say you're like a real estate investor, and you're able to hold that through all those periods. You will make way more money than anybody that tried to time it and buy it at the perfect time. It's what are the opportunities in this market? And in this market, it's a lot of opportunities because of rates being so high. You have options now. You can actually go out and look at different inventory. You don't have to settle on just any home to get a home. That is a huge option right now. And with rates being higher, seller incentives, potentially getting a lower purchase price on top of having options. And then when rates get better again in the future, you can refinance. I want to point this out. In a government-controlled environment like we are in right now with interest rates, I've already shown you how they're controlling it through treasury notes and through their balance sheet and through mortgage-backed security purchases. In an environment like we're in right now, timing the market, pretty much impossible. But what you can guarantee is interest rates do control things. When rates go down in the future, we will see values go back up. We all know that. When rates start going down again, the market feels more comfortable and the news changes, we will start to see people re-entering the market more, and we will see inventory tighten up again. I don't know how much inventory we have to get before that all happens, so their values could still be going down a little bit in the next 6 to 12 months. But the opportunity of buying and then being able to buy when rates are high with the property that you want and refinance in the future when rates come down, you're going to be the one that got the deal. People that are going to have to buy the market with lower rates, they're just going to have higher prices. But you're going to be able to refinance on a no-cost loan. It's much cheaper to refi than to buy. The escrow fee, for example, is $500 when you refi. It's $2,000 when you do a purchase. It's more moving parts when you do a purchase. Everybody's services cost more when you purchase, but they're cheaper when you refi. So these are important points to bring up to your clients, and especially, I love this one. You can show that what you're paying in rent versus what you're paying when you buy after tax benefits, it's better to buy. But if they're afraid of the market going down, great. So if you rent, you're going to lose $144,000 in the next 3 years. If the market goes down $144,000, you're in the same place. But when you had a 30-year loan, you were paying off principal the whole time. You were deducting all of your interest, and you were able to have no rent increases, no moving costs, and more emotional stability. It is always better to buy than to rent. Always better. Now,
definitely. You guys, so this is what's really important in this from a perspective as realtors, right? You are never going to become influential, and I can't become influential unless I'm passionate about the product. Okay. It doesn't matter what I sell. If I'm not passionate about the product, I'm going to fail in sales. And I've had to sell products where I wasn't passionate about, and frankly, I absolutely sucked at it. You would not want to hear my sales pitch. But when you understand these benefits and you really have to break it down for people, it's important to break down the tax benefits. It's important to help them understand that the government rewards them for buying homes. It's important to understand equity. It's important to understand all these things because it plays into their perspective of whether or not this is a good investment, right? If I told you I was going to sell you a stock and, the interest rate on the stock was 15% that you were going to be paying me, but I told you that stock doubled in value every 10 years, and there's never been a 10-year period where the stock didn't double in value for 100 years, you would say, wow, that seems like a pretty stable investment. Yeah, I'm paying a higher interest rate than other investments, but there's a bigger payoff. So it's really important until you're sold on real estate and it being the best investment tool. It's really hard to sell other people on it. And, Reed, you own investment homes, right? You own a few investment homes. And, how you seem pretty smart with stocks and bonds, and I'm sure you could understand all the crypto, and you probably understand it all. But why do you personally invest any money in real estate versus just throwing it all in the stock market or somewhere else?
That's a great question. Here is a property that I purchased in Austin, Texas, a while back.
Just so you know, we can't see it right now.
Yep, I'm going to push it over here.
Cool.
So this is an example of a home that I bought for $570,000 in the end of 2019, right? End of 2019. And this house was worth probably over $1 million, 6 months ago. It's now worth around 900. So, but when I bought this property, I didn't buy this property to double the value on it in 2 years or 3 years. I didn't think it would do that. I didn't care about that. I wanted to put my money into an area. This is an A-class area, so great low crime rates, great school districts. It's in the path of appreciation. People that have money that will one day want to be buyers are renting there. And other than that, it's all homeowners, right? So I found the right location within a market, and then I wanted to put my money to work in real estate because of the power of leverage. In real estate, you can put 25% down on a property that's worth $100,000. Let's just say, for example, you put 25 grand down. If the asset goes up 4% a year, my 25 grand goes up 16% a year, because the value of that asset, if it only goes up just the national average, right, and it's all about location, but if it just goes up the national average of even 4.5% every single year, in California it's been historically 7%. If it went up 7% a year, in 10 years, this is good to know, an asset appreciating at 7% a year will double in value in 10 years. So I looked at it as, where can I put my money that I can get safe financing that's fixed? I can calculate my fixed payments. I know what my taxes are going to be. I can get great property management to manage it for me at a fraction of what the monthly rent cost is. But I can put it in an area where it will pay for itself. I have to have a little bit of positive cash flow. I got to put 50% down today to buy one positive cash flow, but I get the right price and the right deal. That's okay, because I'm still going to have an asset that's 100% of that value that's going to go up or down each year. And over time, as that goes up, my return on investment is going to be high. It's going to be much higher than the national average in the stock market, which is about, let's just say 15% in the S&P 500. The biggest reason, though, why I did it was not just the return, it's the tax benefits. The benefits of buying real estate, you guys, I can deduct the interest, I can deduct the taxes, I can take all my rental income and deduct all my deductions, and at the end of the day, have a very slight positive income I'm paying taxes on. But then I get to depreciate the asset over 27.5 years. The government allows that. So every year I can take depreciation on the asset, and I can turn that income on the property negative. I'm a real estate professional. So now I can take the negative income and deduct that against my earned income. So this last year, I was able to take $130,000 of just negative income on my real estate, and I was able to deduct that against my earned income and pay less taxes. The best part about real estate, I'm getting to the end, is the tax benefit of selling. In years and years of owning property, every year, this is the other part, the tenant's paying off the home for you. Yes, you'll have some maintenance costs. Yes, you'll have some vacancy. You set that up ahead of time. I have numbers on that and how that all works. You set money aside for that, and as you have cash flow, your reserve accounts will build up, and you use that to pay for expenses and a vacancy whenever you have one, and then you re-rent the property, and on you go. But over the years, the property pays itself off. When you start running out of depreciation, maybe you've owned a home for 20 years, you're getting close, it's tripled in value. Your loan balance is much smaller. You can sell the property, and unlike a stock, you sell stock, you got to pay taxes. When you sell real estate, you can 1031 exchange. You can take all your equity and you can move it into another property and defer paying taxes. You have 45 days to identify the next property that you're going to buy. You have 6 months to close on it. You have to replace the loan amount you have on your property. It has to be that much or greater on the new property. And you have to buy for more value than you sold for. Eventually, you can 1031 exchange all your properties into, let's say, a large 16-unit, apartment building, or a couple buildings in a very safe location too, A-class. Not an area that's going to be a ton of maintenance and vacancy. I'm talking prime location, zero vacancy rate, and you can defer the taxes. And then that income coming in, guess what you get again? You don't lose the depreciation. You sold the other properties, you 1031'd it. Now you have a brand new property you can now depreciate over the next 27 and a half years. So if you bring in $50,000 a month in income on that property, you can deduct $30,000 a month of that can be depreciation. So you pay no taxes. You're paying nothing.
So Reed,
that's the benefit of real estate.
This and that, my friends, is the benefit of real estate. Mic drop. So this is awesome, you guys, and I hope you're getting a lot of value out of his personal experience, because he is he's talking not from a theoretical. He's not some guy on YouTube. He's somebody who owns real estate, receives the benefits, and is gaining wealth on it. And I love what he mentioned about the leverage. That's so important. If you were to go buy a stock, you need to pay 100% of that stock up front, and then you start to make dividends on all the money you invested. But when you buy a house, you get to put down a very small portion. We have a buyer right now that's a veteran. They're putting $0 down. He's going to put $0 down on that home. In 10 years, it's going to be worth double, and he's going to have invested $0, and to actually obtain it, he had to live somewhere. So his benefit cost is that basically he's spending similar to what he was paying in rent. He's going to get all this advantages, and he's going to make $600,000 or $700,000 by putting $0 down. So Reed, we have to wrap up in about 4 minutes. We have to get on for a listing appointment. But I wanted to see if there's any parting words, anything that you want to share, because what you've gone with us was just tremendously valuable. This was a real masterclass, and I posted on Facebook. I said, my lender just did the most epic training ever. Does anybody want a copy? And so far we have, I think, 15 comments of people who want to get a copy of this. So, yeah, so a lot of good stuff. So how would you summarize this, and how can we be using this to implement today?
Just now is the time not to be lazy at all with any of this stuff. You need to spend time with the client. You need to have your lender review their options. You need to remember that inflation is eating up their cash a lot. I mean, example, this is the one I wanted to go over. My current rate is low. My new interest rate will be high. Refinance in the future when rates come down. Many people have refinanced over the past 24 months while rates were at a historic lows. That's going to keep less inventory on the market. Many sellers have decided to keep their house as a rental property. That's going to keep less houses on the market. A really good friend of mine and partner came up with this math that I thought was phenomenal. 62% of all U.S. mortgages are on a 30-year fixed below 4%. When someone talks about is the market's just going to crash, remind them, 62% of all mortgages in the entire United States have a rate below 4%.
Essentially, what that means is that 62% of people probably have payments lower than what they could rent for. So
correct, and they don't need to sell. They don't need to, and that's going to help inventory stay high. And another thing, show them examples. So if you had $90,000 in your bank, let's say you were going to buy 2 Toyota 4Runners in 2020, that would cost you $90,000 then. In 2021, it would cost you $97,200. And in 2022, it would cost you $105,000 to buy the same 4Runners. If you just had your money sitting in the bank, you would have lost $15,000 of purchase power. So inflation is eating up your money. If you put it into real estate and if you do it the right way, you can still make a very good return right now, especially emotionally. I think it's emotionally so great to own a home that you live in. And then from an investment standpoint, it can just do wonders on your life. So I would leave it there. I would leave it there.
Awesome.